An update on crime from the district attorney, an update on schools from the superintendent, and a toy will get you comedy and a show. Roll it, Scott. '23 is almost out of here, but let's talk about where we are in the way of crime and overdoses with our district attorney, Hillar Moore, who's here with us on set to talk with you one more time before we get out of this year. And Hillar, glad you're here, but before we get into where we are with crime trends, as of the taping of this show, 2 juveniles are still on the run from the detention center. What can you tell us about that?
I think it's probably actually 3 now, since there were 2 separate instances. Unfortunately, have not been apprehended, have not turned themselves in. We surely are begging anyone that knows where they are to let us know, or let the police know. But we encourage them to turn themselves in so we don't have any potential issues with them turning themselves over. Obviously, at least one has escaped twice, and he's in there for a very serious offense, first-degree murder. So it's troubling that they are on the loose right now, and we don't know where they are. And you know, the whole issue of the juvenile detention center is surely tragic right now. We've been talking about this for decades.
I was going to ask you, what about this facility, man? You know,
so this is
something about that.
This is a facility that was designed to be a treatment type center, and then it was eventually turned into a detention center where you are to securely house juveniles. It just wasn't made for it. And so they've had been several attempts and escapes over the past years, and there've been damage to the facility. The facility now is designed inadequately to hold around 50 juvenile defendants. However, due to damages and budget and pay, they're only housing around 38. And I think up to 20 or so of the 38 are there for homicide, first degree, second degree murder. The others are there for robbery. We only are housing 38 because the pay that the city's able to pay is $15 an hour for a civilian. It's not even run by law enforcement in any kind of capacity. So you can imagine the situation there. And it's one that we have studied forever. We've had plans for new ones, but it goes hand in hand with the prison that we need. With these, at least one particular of these juveniles, we would like to have them housed in the parish prison, because although they're a juvenile, that's 17 years old, because we changed the law, they cannot be housed at the parish prison until they're 18, or unless the judge sets a hearing and says, I'm ordering you to be housed at the parish prison. However, the way that constitutionally the law is, that if they're below 18 and they're housed at a prison, they have to be kept sight and sound away from every other adult. And because of the cuts at the prison and the problems there, several wings are closed and they just cannot do it. And as you can imagine, no other parish wants to take our juveniles.
Well, let's talk about crime overall in the parish. We are down from last year, but it is still not exactly something to celebrate, right? So let's talk about where we are.
Historically, from the years of 2008, on all the way until 2018, we averaged around the 80s for homicide. And that, in my opinion, is double what we should have for a city our size. However, historically, our numbers have been in the 80s. And then in 2018, as you know, we had 103 homicides that year. But our worst year ever was in 2021, when we had 150 or 4950. However, since that time, and coming out of COVID, we have steadily gone down.
One would hope.
So now, this year, we're around 18% below last year. And from the 150, we're around 40% below that mark, which is a bad mark. So not one you really want to keep, but that's good news. And I think I pointed to you that the last 3 months, August, September, October, were the lowest months we've seen in a decade. And but November now, we're up to 11 so far, with another one yesterday.
What about overdoses?
Unfortunately, overdoses continue to rise. We thought that this year we were going to see a decrease. We did at the beginning of the year. We're up 4%, which is, we're going in the wrong direction on that. We have to find a way to stop the demand, the want of people that want the drugs. But Clay, it's bigger than that, as you know. We have to stop the drugs and the precursor materials coming in across the border,
Yeah.
all of the borders, whichever way they come in. And that's going to really take some big legislative efforts along with other countries, China and all. And look, this is uniquely a United States problem. We are the ones that are dying from the drugs that are coming from overseas. The other countries are not having this overdose problem like we're having. So this is something that we need to talk about on a federal level.
You know, most people, the last time you were here, you talked about, and Scott, give me an extra minute in this segment. You talked about crime being down.
Yes.
But you also addressed the fact that people here believe it's still astronomical.
Sure.
And you and the sheriff have talked about how statistically it may be down, you still have to address the way people feel here.
Sure.
How do you do that?
You know, they just really have to trust the numbers, which is hard for them to do when they see it on the news and in the newspaper every day. We always seem to publish more of the bad news than the good news.
Yeah.
But we did have an article yesterday that showed that we were down significantly. So I think that that's in the right direction, but it has to be continued, sustained numbers that are down for people to see that difference. And but it surely feels that way to even to us.
I wanted to give, we were talking about this before we started the segment. The district attorney now has a dashboard online at ebrda.org, East Baton Rouge Parish District Attorney's website. Talk about that dashboard.
Yeah, so it's called Commons. It's a program that we've had using from across the country. And what we want the public to be able to do is to look at how our office operates. In the past, the DA's office really operates in darkness because you never know why we do what we do with thousands of cases, and it's hard for us to tell folks what we do on a daily basis. So now you can look to see how long it takes for a case to move through the system, what the outcome was, and it'll be by section of court, by assistant DA, et cetera. So it's really a lot more transparency and openness, and people can see what we're doing, and we now have a better idea of what we're doing and how we do it.
Appreciate you coming on. That's ebrda.org. We'll get you back here before the year is over.
All right.
Talking about these
Thanks,
numbers.
Clay.
Right now, up at podcast225.com, you can check out episode 288 of The Clay Young Show. The audio podcast is back, and Hillar is even threatening to come be a guest. I don't know about that. But check it out, episode 288 right now at podcast225.